Well, that was fast. On Saturday, Miss USA said healthcare was a privilege. Here we are on Tuesday, and now she says healthcare is a right. I guess she just got tired of all that harassment she was getting on social media. Yeah, we'll talk about that, and we'll also talk about guns with Jerah Hutchins from Defender Outdoors. Stay tuned. I'm your host, Brian Bledsoe. And if you want to connect with us on social media, you know that social media that probably been dragging on and on Miss USA for the past couple of days. Yeah, that's social media. If you want to connect with TrendChat, just go to TrendChat 24/7. Type it in on whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And it's all the same name across all the social media platforms. And also, I write for politichicks.com. If you want to read some of my articles, my most recent article was at the NRA annual meetings, and also having the podcast on Politichicks every week. And so if you want to go to my author link, it is politichicks.com/author/Brian Bledsoe. And I do want to mention this right now, that the Founding Project, I definitely would encourage everyone to go to their Facebook page. Just search The Founding Project on Facebook, and they are taking civics to citizens. That is a great segue to bring up Miss USA, because I think this is a example of not really understanding civics, or at least one way or another. Because, as I said in the beginning, on Saturday, Miss DC, who is now Miss USA, said during the question and answer something. Well, I didn't watch it, so I just heard about it, and everyone's been talking about it since then. It might have been Saturday or Sunday. Now, I said Saturday. I don't even remember which day it was. It might have been one of those days in the weekend. So, but she said that healthcare was a privilege. And she also said she doesn't consider herself a feminist. And those were the two answers that just blew up, where the liberals just lost their collective minds all over. Yeah. And like I said, I'm pretty sure they just been in constant harass mode ever since. And since she said that, and this goes back to talking about the Founding Project, because to say one thing just a couple of days ago and then totally do a 180 now, I would just say that maybe you don't really understand civics, or at least you don't understand one way or another, because at least take a stand on one side, at least that much. Even if I would disagree. So, but that's what, I was just thinking about that. And as far as the Founding Project, because this whole situation kind of brought me back to thinking about what they're trying to do as far as educating everyone as what it means to be a citizen of this country. And I would say from just learning from them and just learning about the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, that at least you would probably be more sure as far as what you believe as when it comes to these issues like health care, or whatever issue that you are advocating for. So, yeah, so I guess I will go a little more into this because I remember when it first started going around on Twitter, Facebook, and whatnot, and like I said, progressives, liberals just going off, just like how dare she say that healthcare is a privilege, and because they believe it's a right and whatnot. And just for anyone listening, if you are confused, I believe that it is a privilege. It is not a right. You do not have a right to have someone else provide you a service. That's called slavery. So, and I'm pretty sure by saying that, like, how dare you call it that? No, that's what it is. If I'm required to provide you something, like if I don't do it, I go to jail. Okay. I mean, it kind of goes back to, as far as talking about taxation and stuff and whatnot. So, but even in talking about health care just in itself, you are making someone provide a service to you. And, we could also go down the road as far as the terms, and basically if you want to make it like the whole single payer system and universal health care, whatnot. And I mean, I'm pretty sure the same people that were upset with Miss USA saying that it was a privilege, I'm pretty sure they were the same people that believe in universal health care and single payer to the point to where, if that's the case, if everyone is just guaranteed this service, then I would say, one is not insurance, so definitely don't call it that. So, but I just want to make that clear. If people were confused, I don't know why you would be confused, but I just want to make that clear. And when I was seeing all the posts and everybody as far as being conservative was on the conservative side was saying, all right, she's a great conservative, and basically want to put her on Fox News, give her own show or something, and she's going to be the next great conservative because she's the Miss USA and all that, and like I said, on the other side, they was just lamenting the fact that how could this young black woman say such a thing. And for me, I mean, I posted one article about saying that, she's black, beautiful, brilliant, and this is why the left hates her. And I posted that, and that was all I was going to post. And it's not like I'm going to take that down because that's all still true. Regardless if she retracted this statement that she made. And like I said, I didn't post anything else because the same reason that I didn't post anything else, just making status updates saying about she's like the next great conservative or whatnot. I mean, because I didn't know her. So, I didn't know anything about her. A week ago, I would not even not known her name. Like, someone will mention, like, I'm trying to remember her name now. Kára McCullough, I think I might have. But I would have never had any thought about who she was or who Miss DC was or who Miss USA was, 5 days ago. So, because of one night making a couple of comments that were conservative leaning, I wasn't going to just all of a sudden like, okay, she's it. This is, she is the next great conservative, speaker, and let's put her on the circuit and have her go around the country talking about all conservative principles, and she is the new leader and all that. And also I was thinking, given that this is on Tuesday, I was thinking about coming on yesterday because in my mind, for the same reason why I didn't post all these things hailing her as something great, I also didn't know if she was going to stick to the comment or not, for the same reason. I don't know I don't know her. I don't know who she is. So, I was thinking on Monday, I'm like, maybe, if I was doing a show on Monday, I would have said before this would have came out on Tuesday, but it's late now. She already said it. So now me saying this kind of seems like, oh, well, you just saying that because. But I've said this before about anyone that makes, a one-time right-leaning comment or have a right-leaning moment of some sort is, hold on. Just hold on. Let's learn something about the person before and give it some time. Let he or she make some more statements, get more, get some more details about what they believe. And so that's why I was saying as far as her sticking to the comment, because we've seen that a number of times before too. Someone will say something that we on the right would like, and we like, all right, great. And then, on the other side, they're getting this barrage of tweets, negative tweets, vicious tweets. People call them all sorts of names and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, what do you know? A person comes out with a tweet or some post or whatnot saying like, oh, well, I didn't mean it that way. Or just totally retract the whole statement, or just say something like, well, I was taken out of context or whatever you want to put into it. And I was just thinking like, well, we'll see if she will, if she really believes what she said on this past weekend, because you'll find out real quick, because she's going to get a lot of attacks on social media or just in mainstream media. People are just gonna, but liberals are just gonna automatically call her dumb. She's a Nazi or whatever, regardless if she's black. So, and all, a lot of this is especially coming from a lot of other black people saying this to her, and with all that happened around her, you're going to find out if she really believed that or not, or if she really cares enough to about that issue. That's, if it's really important to her to not change her statement. It just depends on how, where she's coming from. And like, you'll find out real fast about and we're not talking about just with Miss USA. Just talk about the next person that this happens to. Like, they make some sort of comment that's, sounds like a conservative argument, and that goes against, and it like I say, it don't even have to be a conservative comment, really, or conservative moment. It can just be a moment that questions liberal or progressive policies. Like, that was one thing I was thinking. I wasn't going out saying that she's a conservative, because like I said again, I don't know her. So she could just be questioning healthcare policy. That might be the only thing that's really conservative about her. I mean, I don't know. And so when you're having all this going on around her, and so you would really find out if she's gonna stick with it and go on or not. And we found out today that it is or not, as she has retracted her statement, saying that that healthcare is a right now. And this is just another example of why you have a lot of black people who, and like I said again, I'm not saying they're conservative, but they are just questioning liberal, progressive policies. And that's kind of what the question I mentioned to a number of people when I was at CPAC, when I talked to Lawrence, Billy Jones, Antonia, and others. And that's something I mentioned to them. It was a question that I asked them. And, this is the cycle how it goes. And if someone just is somewhat critical of, progressive policies, this is basically the course that it goes down. The person is beat down to the person is either more resolute and they're just, dig their heels in and continue on and I guess and grow more in their statements, and whether they just come out and say, well, yes, I am a conservative, or just not even saying that, I'm an independent at least, or at the very least just saying, like, I just don't agree with a lot of these progressive policies that's been going on in my community for 50 some odd years. So, but like I said, this is kind of the cycle that kind of goes for especially a lot of black people that have these sorts of moments. And, even though, I disagree that with people who maybe have these questions at least, and because of what they've seen happen to people like Miss USA or just any other person that they know, maybe someone that they know personally, and they just decide to be quiet because they don't want to deal with all the attacks from, like I said, not from just people on Twitter or just liberals, but also black people in general. And a lot of times it would be black people that will all of a sudden will just turn on you. How in the world can you believe that, and just call you all sorts of names. But if I kind of go back, if you're not sure about what you believe in, especially if it's something that is against a progressive policy or any sort of, whether it's, like I said, whether it's healthcare or, gun control or housing. I'm just trying to think of things right now off the top of my head, but regardless of the issue, if it's something that is not the status quo amongst, I would say 90% of the black community, and when I say that, I'm talking about the 90% that vote Democrat year in, and year out, and year out. And if you're not sure about that different view, then you might want to think about it and really understand where you're coming from, because you're going to get all of this to a smaller degree, but you're going to get it. And unfortunately, it's a very successful tactic, because a lot of people will see this. A lot of black people will see what happens, and they're like, well, if you're not that sure about it, or it's, like I said before, if it's not that important to you, and like I said again, I would disagree. I would say that it is important, but if that person don't see it as important to them to stand up and advocate for, and I'm not going to say like conservative principles, just principles outside of progressive policies, but a lot of people just tend to, I would say, just tuck tail and run, I guess, in a way. Just they don't want to deal with that, because why bother? I'm not really that into that issue. I just have some questions about it, but if black people are going to go off on someone for just having a question, then I can see someone saying, well, what's the, I'm not even going to bother, and then they'll just be quiet and just go along. And a lot of times that thinking comes just because of the color of our skin. And well, if all these black people are are for this, and even though I'm questioning what it is, and well, I'm just gonna just go along because well they're black, and so and there's a familial, I guess, sense to wanting to just make sure that you're going along with the majority of what the black community thinks, and regardless if you don't think it's right or wrong, you still kind of go along with it just because well, we got to stick together because we're black and whatever. I say it like that because I really can care less about that. Care less about whether you're black, white, or whatever. I'm more about joining with people who I share similar principles with more than anything. And whether that's politically or theologically, that's where I stand. I can care less about your color. And so yeah, that's how I see it. But obviously a lot do not see it that way. And that's why we're at where we're at. And that's not just with the black community. That's also in just minorities in general, because that's kind of the same thing to a little lesser degree in the Hispanic community, because you have, in that sense, it's like 70% vote Democrat. So now, and I don't want to get too much into this. I mean, I do want to get to Jerah Hutchins, and also want to get to talking about me getting my brand new Springfield Saint to yesterday, and that was great. And oh wow, yeah. Well, I guess we're gonna have to just get to it now. So we got a chance to speak with Jerah Hutchins, Defender Outdoor, and like I said, I just received my new AR-15 and really am, got a chance to take it out on range. It was great. Looking forward to going back and getting some more training. And this all kind of goes into what I was saying as far as when I left the NRA annual meetings, as far as wanting to learn more about just being proficient, basically with the firearms I already have. I would like to expand more into other firearms as well, but just even the ones that I have, I want to know more and train more with it, and just being more proficient. So that being said, here is my interview with Jerah Hutchins. I'm Bledsoe, and I am here with the director of Defender Outdoors, Jerah Hutchins. How are you doing?
I'm so good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And like I mentioned on the podcast on Thursday, I am here at Defender Outdoor with my new Springfield Saint, and I have just gone through the process, and I actually just want to go through it with her, as far as for anyone that's have thought about wanting to go through the process and kind of just want to maybe get some insight and just kind of help them out on it. So let me ask you, so I purchased this online and then it came here. So kind of how does that go after I've made the purchase?
So when you make the purchase of a firearm online or from another gun dealer, but you don't maybe live there, or there's another FFL like us, which stands for Federal Firearms License, you can have it transferred to that FFL. Actually, you're required by law to have it transferred to an FFL, and then you would come to our location. We would check your identification. We would, as soon as the gun is shipped to us and we receive it in, because we have to keep what's called a bound book, and we have to keep track and we have to keep records of all guns that come through our facility that stay here for over 24 hours. Okay, so we have to keep track of all those firearms, and when that is brought through our bound book, we then call you and let you know that your gun is ready to pick up. Before we release the gun to you, you have to come to our facility. We have to check your ID. You have to fill out what's called 4473 paperwork. for the ATF. And if you are not a license to carry or a CHL holder, then you are also subject to what we call a NICS check, which is a federal background check. And all of those things have to be processed and cleared before we can give the firearm to you. But the good thing is Texas has a pretty good process for that. So I would tell people carve out, an hour to an hour and a half to do that. And then if your NICS check comes back, or if you're an LTC holder, you can skip the background check. And you can be, in and out of here with your firearm. But there are a lot of other states that require you to, fill out your paperwork and you have to leave it for 3 days or however many days. But we don't do that. We go ahead and background check you and let you go on your way.
Okay, because now for me, I am a license holder, so I was able to get it, even though I messed up myself. But as far as not changing my address, because there are very particular things when it comes to picking up, your firearm. And also, I want to ask a question. Do you know, the history of why you have to go through, FFL dealers, or where did that come from?
I don't know the exact history of how it all came to be, but I know that there were some compromises in legislation at some point that kind of brought these processes into play. It's the legislation's, the government's attempt to try to keep records of firearms and firearms purchases, and there are some things that they haven't been able to regulate yet. The left and the gun control advocates are wanting to figure out how to regulate straw purchases and things like that, and they want this universal gun registry, and all that. But no, we just do the process that we are told to do.
Yeah. So now you mentioned to me about the saying in particular that you said, I guess, and I quote, "You will love this gun."
Oh, you will love that gun. Yes, you will.
So tell me about the saying. I spoke to Stephanie Reese back in the NRA meetings, and she told me, she's with Springfield, but you tell me.
The thing that I love about this particular firearm is I feel like the AR market was really missing the mark when it came to ARs for women. And Springfield really hit it on the head. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't a female AR. It's a very unisex AR, but women have a tough time with that particular weapon system because they're very front heavy. And so if we have to hold them for long periods of time, we're going to get tired more quickly than maybe you would. And so the thing that I love about the Saint is it's just a very light AR all the way around. It's got a really great price point. You ended up finding a really sweet deal on this one. But really, a lot of the gun dealers are selling them for $900 to $950. And that doesn't sound very good, but when I tell you the things that you get with it, it's pretty amazing. You can go and buy a $400 or $500 AR, but by the time that you're done upgrading it and making it the way that you want to, you've got a $1,400 or $1,500 AR. This one comes, optics ready, so that's really the only thing, in my opinion, that you have to slap on it is a pretty good optic. But other than that, it comes with, Bravo Company furniture standard, which is very atypical. It's got a rattle-free buttstock, great trigger. I can shoot hole through hole, with iron sights on this thing. So it's a really, really robust AR for the price point, and that's exactly how Springfield wanted it. And they did a really good thing, in my opinion, by putting some heavy marketing on it to women. I love it. I own one. And it's my favorite gun now. I couldn't believe it. I was very skeptical when the rep came and told us about this. I was like, no way is this going to be an awesome AR, and it is just very, very kick-ass.
Well, I will definitely find out for myself later on, and can't wait to get it on the range myself. But I want to ask you about Defender in general. So just give us the history of Defender.
So Defender was the brainchild of 7 different investors, and They put together a really good management team, and they hired me. I was the last person to be hired on the executive team because I was the only one that had done this before. So I've built 5 luxury concept or country club concept ranges. And so I had always wanted to live in Fort Worth, so I thought that this was going to be a really great opportunity for me. And I've been here since the beginning. They hired me before groundbreaking ever even happened, about 4 months actually before groundbreaking. And I really wanted to be able to put a lot of creative energy into a facility like this and make it the one-stop shop basically for everybody's gun needs. So we have a really incredible retail space with really excellent pricing, and we're able to get that pricing because we have a lot of buying power, because we have a national.com with over 50,000 SKUs. So we have DefenderOutdoors.com, and then we have DefenderOutdoorsShootingCenter.com. So we're able to really give good prices on guns, good prices on ammo. And then I wanted to be able to do events, and I wanted to be able to do training. And actually, I just wrote a blog post that I'm going to release here in a few days about how training has really kind of come into its own, and how a lot of these country club, these luxury gun range concepts are really taking training to a different level. And we have right now we have a 14 class training academy that covers everything from I've never touched a gun before all the way up to your tactical classes where you're simulating duress, simulating injury, doing tactical reloads, dealing with malfunctions really quickly. And it's really nice because we have, male and female trainers, and we're really experts on putting people on a really good path to training without you having to drive out in the middle of nowhere and spend 2 or 3 days training with really expensive trainers. And nobody really has, a lot of people don't have time for that anymore. And so we're able to offer 2 and 3 and 4 hour classes. We even offer lunchtime classes, and that's the great thing is we're not subject to business hours. If we had a group of people, like we get a lot of realtors in here. If we had a realtor group that said, the only time that we can train is 7 a.m. on a Monday morning, I can do that. I've got keys to this place. I can train. And so we can totally set that up and schedule it out. And so we're really good about working training around other people's schedules. And then from an event standpoint, we just kick so much ass at being able to customize events for people, especially corporate events. We've just partnered with the CVB, the Convention and Visitors Bureau as well, to really do a lot of incredible corporate events. So Williams & Dickey's is a huge client of ours. NBS, Nation's Best Sports, is a huge client of ours. And we can customize events where we can bring out speed steel, we can do full auto, they can do run and gun house clearing, in our 3,000 square foot sim house. We can, we've got a huge laser shot room where we can do laser shot competitions. And then we can even, couple an event with a training where we can set up obstacles and we can let people go over the firing line and do some move and shoot training along with their event. We train a lot of the police departments around Fort Worth too. And so I really wanted this to be the most robust events facility when it came to firearms that there could be ever. And we get groups that fly in and train here from all over the world. We've really become a tourist attraction for that.
From all that you just said, that's a lot to take in, and I would definitely love to, to see all of that y'all have. As far as I know, you mentioned like you had a room, like a warehouse, as far as for training.
We do. So we can do training at a number of resources that we have here. So we can do what we call over the firing line training, where we take the bays that you normally shoot, behind the bench. We shut those down and we set up obstacles over the firing line where people can actually move and shoot down there. But then we also have a simunition house where we have Glocks that have been converted into sim Glocks. And so simunition is exactly the same thing as ammunition. It's the same brass, same gunpowder, same primer. It comes out of the gun exactly the same. The difference is that the projectile that's coming out is a perforated plastic instead of lead. Okay, and I'll take you there so you can get some pictures. So it's basically paintball on steroids. And so we have classes in there. We have one in particular called Personal Protection Survive in Your Home. There's 3 points of entry into that house, which is pretty typical for any home. And we can set you up to find someone already in your home when you get home. We can set you up to be home and somebody break into your house. So we have one of our other trainers that's in full body gear. You're in full body gear, face, chest gear, all that. And you can see how quickly someone can actually get a shot off on you. And you don't even know that it's happening. So a lot of people come into that class with a lot of preconceived notions that we end up kicking right out the front door. And then we take you, we give you a clean slate, and we say, now we're going to teach you how to really react in a situation of duress. Because you have 3 different ways that you can react. You freeze, you flee, or you fight. Okay? And people who freeze are people who don't train, and people who freeze are people who die. Okay? And so we train you out of freezing, and we show you where you can flee, because that's a really great option. Okay? You don't always want to engage the threat. If you can get out, you want to get out. But if you have no choice but to stand and fight, we want to show you how you can take cover, where to hide, how to engage the threat, how to disarm the threat if you've injured them, or how to assess if they're dead safely, things to say on the 911 call, and then we even coach you on your civil, criminal, and financial liabilities under the law so that you're prepared for what happens after the bang.
Wow, that's definitely some very intense training, and definitely training that is needed, across the board. So now I wanted to bring up one other thing. That you are the 5th board member of Empowered.
I am.
So by a friend of the show, Antonia Okafor, and we've interviewed her a number of times. And one thing, congratulations. And how do you get involved with Empowered?
Antonia came to me last year for some training. She was getting, actually, it's a very funny story. She actually wanted to work here. She wanted to work at Defender, and I interviewed her, and I saw all of the things that she was getting invited to do, and the shows that she was doing, and the Blaze and Fox News, and I said, you're not going to have time to work here. I said, you really need to take those opportunities, and that's kind of how we left it. And then she ended up coming back to me and going, God, you were totally right. You were totally right about that. And but she did come to me for some training and education, which was really good on her part, because the worst thing that you can do is go on a talk show or go on some of these big mainstream news channels and have a good heart and have every good intention and believe in what you believe in, but not be educated. And she didn't feel like she knew enough about guns. She didn't feel like she was trained enough yet to be able to answer a lot of the questions that she'd be faced with. So she came and trained with me. And then when she decided that she wanted to launch Empowered, she came to me and said, I really want you to be on the board. I want you to be our training chair. That way that when we're going out and we're spanning out around these college campuses, we can actually, have a trainer on our board that knows, all kinds of different training. Because even though Empowered is heavy about the gun and heavy about campus carry, we also understand that there are a number of students that aren't old enough to do that yet. You're going to have to be a junior or senior in college before you can even worry about that. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to not only be about campus carry, but we wanted to be a resource for students to say, okay, well then I'm 19 or I'm 18 or I'm 20. What's my pathway to training? And we can offer them hands-on self-defense training. We can offer them close quarters combat training, which is just a fancy way to say I can kick someone's ass in a small space. Okay, but when you're going on planes, trains, and buses, okay, you really want to know how to do that. And then we can offer them non-lethal weapons training, and we educate them on things like Kubatons and Kimber, that makes a great pepper spray gun that's double barreled, has a safety on it, looks like a gun, so it's going to confuse your perpetrator. They're going to have to think for a second as to whether or not that's really a gun. It's non-lethal, but it's got a really high grade pepper spray in it that's liquid. Because a lot of times when you're carrying pepper spray on your keychain, you run the risk of debilitating yourself from backdraft. Because it's an aerosol, right? And any woman that's ever accidentally sprayed themselves in the face with hairspray, they know what I'm talking about, right? But this is a liquid, and it actually shoots out 13 feet at 97 miles an hour. So you can actually, engage someone at a pretty good distance and still come out on top. So we want to be a resource for all students, not just students that are old enough to carry a firearm, but we want to advocate for those students to be able to carry a firearm. But not only do we want them to be able to do that, we want them to have the proper education in order to be able to safely effectively do that, because that's the huge leftist argument right now, is guns are too easy to get, people don't train enough, and facilities like this are making it where people do train enough. And people do have good access to training. We get TCU students that come over here all the time. So we want to kind of take that leftist argument and we want to pound it. We want to nip it in the bud, because we are offering these things to students. And I think that a byproduct of that is going to be an incredible amount of discipline that you're going to see in students that want to pursue that.
Well, I'm glad that we had this interview, because I wanted to kind of go over those, I guess, misconceptions that the left tend to want to talk about over and over again in the media, just in talking about, in getting firearms or just about training in general. And, everything that we talked about in the past few minutes here is, I will hope that, more would find out and just actually learn and educate themselves as far as what it means to get a firearm, and also learn about places like Defender as far as getting training. So I definitely appreciate your time, and thank you for everything.
You are so welcome. Come back anytime.
And thank you to Jerah for joining us. And also, and we were talking about Empowered. Also, congratulations to Antonia and Empowered, and because they have achieved to getting the 501c3 status, and so now they're getting the ball rolling, and that is just another step that they have achieved, and just want to say congratulations to them on that. And also just want to mention, because I didn't get to it in the interview, but if you want to know more about Defender, you can go on their social media, and it's on Twitter. It's at Defender Outdoor. Just spell it out. And if you go to their website, there's just trying to make sure what it is, and it's DefenderOutdoorsShootingCenter.com. She also mentioned it in the interview, and just Defender Outdoors, and I just want to make sure everyone got that, because it's a great facility. It was nice, and like I said, I was able to get on the range and test out that Saint, and yeah, it was great. And like I said before, I definitely look to go back over there and to do some more training with them. So that all being said, I appreciate everyone listening in. I will say again, if you want to connect with us on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, it is TrendChat 24/7. And don't even know about Thursday this week, because I guess you could say I'm probably going to be doing some political activism and talking about that. Don't forget about the new book from the Politichicks, A Clarion Call to Political Activism, which is available on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble. So one of my articles about becoming a delegate at the Republican National Convention is featured in that book, and we encourage you to pick up a copy. Actually, we might think about doing something as far as some sort of sweepstakes in the next week or so on that. But like I said, on Thursday I will be doing some activism. So I guess I'll let y'all know then, and in the next, probably tomorrow. And so until then, we'll chat with you later.